I never thought silence could be so loud. When people betray you, they expect tears, they expect shouting, they expect you to fight back, explain yourself, beg to be understood. But I did none of that. I stayed quiet, and that silence confused them more than anger ever could. You see, betrayal doesn't always come from enemies. Most times, it comes from the people who sit closest to you at the table, the ones who know your weaknesses, the ones who smile while planning your downfall. In my case, it was my own family, not strangers, not coworkers, blood. I had spent most of my life being the dependable one, the one who showed up, the one who fixed things, the one who sacrificed quietly while others took credit loudly. They used to call me strong, but what they really meant was convenient. Whenever something went wrong, they knew I would handle it. Bills unpaid, I covered it. Arguments, I smoothed them over. Mistakes, somehow they became mine, and I allowed it. Because I believed family meant loyalty. I was wrong. The betrayal didn't happen all at once. It came slowly, like a crack in a wall that no one notices until the whole house collapses. It started with whispers, meetings I wasn't invited to, decisions made for my own good, papers signed without my knowledge. At first, I told myself I was imagining things. I wanted to believe them. I needed to believe them. But deep down, something felt off. One evening, I walked into a room and the conversation stopped mid-sentence. Not naturally, abruptly. The kind of silence that tells you everything. Someone cleared their throat, someone else forced a laugh, and I knew. That night, I didn't sleep. I replayed years of conversations in my head, moments that suddenly made sense, promises that were never meant to be kept. By the time morning came, I was already grieving something I hadn't fully lost yet. Or so I thought. The truth came weeks later, not through honesty, but through carelessness. A document left open on a table, my name missing where it should have been, assets reassigned, decisions finalized. I stood there staring at the paper, my hands shaking, not from anger, but from disbelief. They had removed me, quietly, deliberately, completely. And what hurt the most wasn't the loss. It was the ease with which they did it, as if I had never mattered, as if all those years meant nothing. When I confronted them, I didn't raise my voice. I simply asked one question. Why? They avoided my eyes. Someone said, "It just made more sense this way." Another said, "You'll be fine. You're strong." Strong, that word again. Translated, it meant, you don't get to complain. I looked around the room at faces I had trusted my whole life, and in that moment, something inside me went quiet. Not broken, not angry, just finished. I realized something important then. People who betray you rarely think you'll walk away. They think you'll fight for your place. They think you'll beg to be included. So when you don't, it scares them. I didn't argue. I didn't threaten. I didn't demand explanations. I stood up, thanked them for their honesty, and I left. No drama, no tears, just silence. They thought they had won. What they didn't understand was this. I wasn't walking away defeated. I was walking away free. And karma doesn't rush. It waits. Walking away didn't make my life easier. It made it quieter. There's a difference. When you step away from betrayal, you don't suddenly feel strong. You feel empty. I lost more than money that day. I lost my routine, my sense of belonging, the illusion that loyalty was guaranteed. The first few weeks were the hardest. I woke up with nowhere specific to go, no calls to answer, no emergencies to fix. For the first time in years, I wasn't needed, and that silence was frightening. But silence also teaches you things. It teaches you who you are when no one is watching. It teaches you what you can survive without applause. I took a small place, Nothing fancy, just clean, quiet, and mine. At night, I would sit by the window and let the city breathe around me. Cars passing, lights flickering, life going on. I didn't talk about what happened, not because I was ashamed, but because I was protecting my peace. People who betray you don't deserve front row seats to your healing. I found work again, different from before, smaller title, less recognition, but honest. For the first time, my effort benefited me. Slowly, my shoulders relaxed. I started sleeping through the night. I started laughing again, not loudly, but genuinely. And while I was rebuilding quietly, they were unraveling. It didn't happen dramatically. Karma rarely announces itself. It started with small things, missed deadlines, disagreements they used to avoid, bills that suddenly felt heavier without me covering the gaps. I heard about it through others. How are they managing without you? I didn't realize how much you handled. I never responded, not out of pride, out of peace. People expect revenge to be loud. They expect confrontation. But the strongest revenge is absence, because when you leave, people are forced to face what you carried for them. Months passed, then a year. I grew stronger, more confident, more selective with my energy, and they grew nervous. I could feel it in the messages that went unanswered. Short texts, carefully worded. How are you? Hope you're well. We should talk sometime. I didn't block them. I didn't engage. I simply lived. And that bothered them more than anger ever could. One evening, I received a call. I watched the phone ring until it stopped. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. That's when I knew I had healed. You see, the moment someone loses power over your emotions, they lose power entirely. And karma was just getting started. The call came again a week later. This time I answered, not because I missed them, not because I was curious, but because I was ready. The voice on the other end sounded different, careful, measured. No confidence, no authority, just uncertainty. They didn't jump into apologies. They never do. They talked about stress, about pressure, about how things haven't been the same since I left. I listened. That was my power now. Then came the pause, the one people make when they're about to admit something they avoided for too long. We didn't realize how much you were doing. There it was. Not thank you, not we're sorry, just realization. And for the first time, it wasn't enough. They talked about mistakes, about trust, about how families should stick together. I didn't interrupt. I waited until they were finished. Then I spoke, calmly. I didn't leave because of money. I left because I was invisible. Silence. I carried responsibilities that weren't mine. I fixed problems I didn't create. And when I needed respect, I was dismissed. Another pause. This one heavier. They asked if we could wait. I said yes, not for closure, but for clarity. When we sat across from each other, I saw it clearly. The confidence was gone. The entitlement had cracked. They looked tired, and for the first time, unsure. They apologized, properly. Not loudly, not dramatically, but sincerely. And I believed them. That didn't mean things went back to how they were. Karma doesn't rewind time. It teaches lessons. I forgave them, for myself, but I didn't return. Some doors close quietly and stay closed for a reason. I walked away that day lighter than I'd felt in years, not because they suffered, but because I chose myself. And here's the truth people don't tell you. Karma isn't always destruction. Sometimes it's awareness. Sometimes it's regret. Sometimes it's watching the person you underestimated realize that they were the foundation all along. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't seek revenge. I simply stopped giving more than I received. And that was enough. If this story spoke to you, If you've ever been the silent backbone for people who never noticed, stay. There are more stories like this coming. Subscribe to Deep Karma Tales, where betrayal meets truth and silence delivers the strongest lessons.